that Mr. Truen was not credible because he wouldn't answer a straight question, or if he, you know, was trying to deflect. So these things are
Get my
important.
last name by accident, Davis.
Oh, sorry. These are important things that you have to remember. You have to listen to what the judge is asking. You have to listen to what the judge is asking. And even if the answer is something that's going to hurt you have to answer the question. Because look, in any case, you're you're not going to have 100% of the facts on your side.
Mhm.
Any case, nobody is. Not you, not the social worker, not the minor's attorney.
Mhm. I
So
had I had to see him in action today, guys. The client was very pleased, and afterwards I had coffee with her. So he actually had you had three hearings today, Attorney Davis, by the way. So
You guys,
and
I feel like that's a world problem, though, is just because we don't understand something doesn't make that something reality and happening right now. So it's irrelevant if you fully understand everything all the time, because that's really not possible. So I think that's like a world problem.
yeah, but a lot of times when I talk to potential clients that call me, I would normally give them a consultation if Mr. Davis is available, because he is in hearings every day, you guys. He doesn't just sit there and wait for you guys to call, right? So I'm the go-to gal for him. So when I make an appointment for a potential client that is thinking about hiring and Attorney Davis speaks to them, they're objecting to his strategy on their case. And then they call me back and say, Miss G, I don't like Mr. Davis's strategy. But you can't win your case without a specific type of strategy, right? But they want justice. That's what they're looking for. It's the problem with the public is I want justice. I want my ex-husband to pay for this. I want my mother-in-law to pay for this. I want the social workers to pay for this. I want my neighbor and their mama to pay for this. But that's not how you win in court. That justice that you're talking about, it can come afterwards in a certain type of way. You can handle it legally, but that's another discussion. But the main focus should be the child or the children that you are fighting for, not justice. I don't care. You guys shouldn't care about the social worker right now. You shouldn't care about your ex-husband right now. You should care about the children. And that's what Davis was telling one of the clients he had the hearings for today. He was telling her that your focus should be the children, not the ex-husband. That shouldn't be your focus. So you guys have to understand this is very important. An attorney that knows what the fuck he's doing in court tells you something, don't just think you know better than them, because you don't. Vincent and I argue constantly, me and him, about cases, about strategies and whatever. But 100% of the time, he's right. And today, he took me to one of his hearings just to prove it to me. He's right. But his strategy sucked to me. But his strategy works. Get it? Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense to you guys. Might not make sense to you, but it works. So please listen to an attorney that is experienced. And if you don't want to listen to him and you want to damage your own case, don't expect to come to us to save you at the last minute and expect not to pay the attorney to help you. That's all I have to say.
But to be fair, Georgette, to add to that, I think I didn't know that until like way into my case, because you just want to stand up for the injustice that's been done to your family, to your children, to, I mean, it's so deeply impactful and significant. You want people to be held accountable. And you guys, if you're focused on that, schedule more sessions with your therapist. Don't not listen to your attorney and tell him he is doing it wrong, because
Yep.
like happy anniversary, by the way, 36 years.
No, but
I feel
and
like
I didn't
a
know that
lot
for
of
like months and months into my case until I studied Mr. Davis.
Wait,
Mhm.
hold on, LJ. Hold on a second. Miss Cassandra, you were trying to say something?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh,
yeah,
Miss
I just
Cassandra.
feel like, but you got to think of the fact that if you don't, I'm not on mute. What's
We can
wrong
hear
with
you.
me?
No, we can hear you.
You guys can't
Deidre
hear
is
me,
too
can you?
funny. She's trying to. Deidre is too funny. Did you
Okay.
see that?
My internet is really messing up and I'm hating it. But like Mr. Davis said before, like you can't use your ignorance of not knowing as something, like, because you have, like, they're not going to see that as, and everybody has to take accountability for their actions. Well, or your ex's fault or your mother-in-law's fault, you still got to take accountability for your actions and what you don't do. If you don't do something or you don't listen to something, that's your fault, and you got to take accountability for it, for
But
most of all.
But something else too. What I just thought about right now. Biblically, I'm going to say it. Biblically speaking, God tells us you're not fighting against flesh and blood, right? You can't just get a sword and just go stab the enemy, right? You can't, because it's a spiritual thing, spiritual warfare. Same thing in courts. You can't attack that person the way you think you can or the way you think you should. Completely different.
Your own understanding. Yep.
Right. Feelings has nothing to do to the judge. Your emotion is irrelevant. Whatever the case is about, you have to have the right attorney that understands people's behavior in court. And understanding narcissistic behavior in court is a big deal to me, because Mr. Davis never told me, as I said, that he understood how to handle a narcissist in court. That's a very big deal to me. Very, very big deal to me, because I talked to you guys a lot about narcissistic individual in court, and you need a competent attorney that knows how to handle them. But damn, there's a specific way to handle a narcissist, very specific way. And you guys
Miss G,
need to
Miss
know
G, I
that.
want to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Here is, and this is a perfect example of something that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, as much as you talk to me or talk to me about, a case or someone's case,
Mm-hmm.
you believe you know the extent of my experience and thoughts, but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I purposely don't tell you. It's because, there's just some things that I don't mention to you.
That's why it's called The Secret.
But
You should
there you
call it
go.
the secret of
You're the
attorney Vincent Davis.
Miss LJ, you're the first one. You're the first one that ever put that together. But Miss G, here's something that you don't know. You don't know how I wipe my ass either.
That is true.
Right?
And thank
Front to
goodness
back,
for that.
left to right, back to front. You don't know. There's just some things that I don't mention, right? Some things that we don't talk about. And I don't talk to you all the time about the evidence code. I mean, I don't. You've never read the evidence code, so why am I going to talk to you about it? You've never read the Code of Civil Procedure. You never read the Welfare and Institutions Code. You've never read the cases, the case law. Now that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't. I don't know how to fix my transmission in my car. I've never been taught. I've never tried to learn. I just don't have the experience.
Yeah, but okay, look, I understand about the evidence codes. I get that. But knowing how a narcissist behaves in court is a big deal, because there's a lot of women and men who deal with narcissistic partners in court, whether if it's family law or CPS courts. Also, the social workers themselves are narcissistic individuals. They're crazy. They're pathological liars, and they do it with a smile on their face, and they do it convincingly. And to me, I believe that attorneys and judges should be aware how a narcissist behaves in court. I honestly feel that all judges and attorneys should at least study psychology, at least study about narcissists in court. I think that's a big deal to me. And a lot of mothers lose custody because their narcissistic ex is a piece of shit. And that's exactly why, because he or she knows how to manipulate the system. They know how to lie convincingly to the point where you're losing your mind, because it's like he's saying the sky is gray and you're saying the sky is blue, and the judge believes the gray. And you're like, wait a minute, it's blue. Where did the gray come from? But again, you need to understand, it's so important for an attorney to understand specific types of behavior in court, because that's, like I said, that's a big deal. And like Deidre said, I always rant about narcissists. I despise liars. I despise deceivers. I literally hate them. I hate liars. I hate people who deceive people, and people who kill people's character just to get ahead, to get what they want. It's like worse than just stabbing you in the heart. Killing somebody's name or character is worse. It's worse. And shame on the court system for not understanding the importance of understanding certain types of people's behavior, to understand, so kids are not suffering in the process. Kids suffer because the idiotic judicial system that put people on the bench, attorneys on the bench, I mean judges on the bench, and vote for them. It's, to me, it's disgusting. They nominate people who are incompetent on the bench to judge and to rule over people's lives, and the same people they judge are the same people paying their fucking salary. So at least have some fucking common sense and decency to understand how to deal with certain types of men and women in court, and understand the behavior and see through them. Please understand that. Cassandra, do you have anything to say? No?
I do.
Go ahead.
No.
That's a great
point.
like you
Well,
guys,
like after you go on one of your rants, I'm like,
but I think that what you said is really important.
after you go on one of
for
your
people to
rants, I don't
know.
know what to say.
That's important because it's
I
not
get
about
lost in your rants.
full
Okay?
understanding. It's about perspective,
Seeing different
perspectives,
different points of view,
and entertaining alternative ideas other than your own understanding. And I think that's super important. And that's a really, really good point to me.
Yeah, it is. Because a lot of times, I have seen, look, I have been to courts before with other attorneys, and a lot of them just sit there and say, okay, Your Honor. And I'm like thinking to myself, what do you mean, okay, Your Honor? You need to object to this. You can't just sit there and agree to the opposing counsel if he's wrong, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. But that's because they don't know the strategy to come back, right? You have to have, when you're in a battle, you have to know how to fight. And that's exactly why it's important to hire the right attorney. And as God is my witness, I mean, I'm still going to be mean to Attorney Davis. That's not going to stop. But I'm still going to argue with him. That's not going to stop either. I mean, it's not going to stop. But when it comes to court proceeding, God bless him. And I literally pray for him every day. He's a great attorney. And I swear I am the fucking blessed to work for him. I really am.
You know, I'm going to post right now in the comments for all the pages that we're streaming to a book. And
Art of War.
Yeah. This book was written about 2,500 years ago by a Chinese general and philosopher. It is required reading today in most business schools top business schools, and all the military academies. It's called The Art of War, and it's written by Sun Tzu, and there are several different versions. There's translations, um, and and to be honest, it's a difficult read.
Yeah.
But I suggest everyone read it if you have a CPS case, because it will tell you how to deal with an enemy. And when you are in a CPS case, you have very few friends, and you're going to have to learn how to tactically and strategically deal with them. And I was telling Georgette earlier today, I don't know if she remembers this or if it just, went past her. The strategy that I used today was right out of that book, The Art of War.
Mhm.
So anybody can read that book. It's going to take you a while to read it. It's a hard read. It's not very thick. It's not short either, but it's a definite read on how to deal with the other side in a battle. And I look at most of these cases as a battle. Unfortunately, litigation, comes to this. I talk to so many people, a lot of times, and they won the battle and then they give in because they felt bad for the other side. And then, as time goes on, the other side surely is going to come back and stab them in the back. And they're always looking for, people to be nice and be agreeable and to get along. But that doesn't happen, and sometimes it's not your fault. It's the other side's fault. If you're dealing with a person that has a extreme hate for you, there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to change that. They might be 50 years old, 60 years old. How are you going to change 50 or 60 years of life for that person in a very short case that's less than a year? Okay.
That's easy. You get a lobotomy of the compassion department of your brain.
Right.
I mean, but no, honestly, it's not. When I want you guys to understand, it's not war. What he was, well, Eric, thank you, appreciate that. um, it's not even about war. It's about the. He's so calm. He's so calm. You have to understand too. A narcissist in court, your opposing piece of shit party. There's different types of narcissists, and I studied so hard to understand the types of narcissists. When you're dealing with a covert narcissist, they're very calm. No one sees through their demise. They're very convincing, right? In order for you to understand your opponent person, the person you're going against, that attorney has to understand that specific type, right? A narcissist wants to push your button for you to react. Once you react, that means they have power over you, meaning they got you. They have power over you. When you have an attorney that has no emotion whatsoever, but his word and his demeanor is strong, and that narcissist cannot get through to him or her, they start losing their mind, and their true character comes out. So that's very important. Were you going to say something, Attorney Davis?
Yes, I was going to say something. Is that a real tree behind you?
No.
It looks great. I mean,
Thank you.
looks great.
See, this is why
Mr. Davis, I have some questions like relevant to my
and
case.
you're talking about a tree behind me?
Well,
This is an artificial tree, everyone.
It looks really good.
It
That
looks
was
really
a
good.
compliment. Why
It looks
can't you
really
take
good.
the
You guys are
compliment?
not going to believe how much that tree was worth. It was $40. After Christmas sale, it's $40. I kid you not.
How many years have you had that tree?
One.
Oh, just one.
That was last year.
I went to I guess an early Christmas party not too long ago, and they had a Christmas tree that looked so real, and the lights were built into the tree, so you didn't have to like hang extra lights. I mean, these artificial trees that they're making now are unbelievable.
Yeah, this one has lights, but the bottom one is missing the light. So when I
Okay.
got it was missing. Yeah, it was missing the bottom, but that's okay.
I love you guys. I love Christmas, but let's digress and pull it back because I got Mr. Davis for a short amount of time.
Oh my God,
and,
that's right.
like-
I forgot all about LJ. Go ahead,
Come
LJ.
on. So, and I mean that respectfully, because I respect all of you, and I love being part of this show. It's just like changed my world. But I am reopening my case. And so basically my case closed with permanent guardianship to my sister with the promise to reopen after I finished some classes, and I have finished those classes, and now I'm going to reopen. And I was promised reunification right off the bat. Now I'm nervous because a lot has happened since the closing of the case.
All right, but hold on, LJ.
Okay.
Because I tell this to people all the time. You have a question for me, great. Ask me the question, and then we'll fill in with the story.
Well, so you don't want the fluff.
No, and here's why. I don't know how to listen to your story to answer your question. You're just talking. If lawyers want to know what's the issue. So
You're right, but I've been watching you for like a year, and just want to tell you everything. I'm sorry.
There's something how lawyers and even judges analyze things. It's called IRAC. What's the issue? What's the rule? What's the analysis? What's the conclusion? So tell me what the question is. What's the issue?
So basically, I was told.
LJ.
I don't know how to say it other than I'm about you.
Hold on, because I'm giving you a little training. Miss G has gone through this painfully. All right, I'm asking you a question. You ask me what the question is. Now, questions begin with what, why, how, where, when. Don't tell me a story. We'll get to that. What is your question? Just tell me your question. How?
But you're not easy to get to, so that's not fair. Man.
Assume that I know everything about your case.
How do I make sure that I because when you fill out the paperwork to reopen the case, you have to put down your case plan tasks. How do I make sure that I show the judge that I have gone above and beyond and not just completed, or is that not important?
Okay. LJ, is your case here in California?
No, it's in Florida.
Okay. What I'm going to tell you, I hope applies to Florida, but you're going to have to talk to a Florida attorney.
Yeah.
If you were in California and your kids were with your sister in legal guardianship, you have to file a 388 petition to change that order to get the children placed back. Now, I'm sure in Florida they have something similar.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the 388 petition has to show basically two things. Number one, it has to show that what you're asking for, return of your kids, is in their best interests. And there's a test for that. Well, what's best interest? Well, we'll get to that. And the second thing you have to show is really, I shouldn't say second, it's really the first thing. You have to show a change of circumstances. Have things changed? Like, has LJ completed the parenting class? Has LJ completed counseling? Has LJ got that lobotomy? It's something has to have changed. And then you have to show the judge that it's in the best interest. Now, the first thing that I always ask, and I've given you the technical definition or way to do it, but the first thing I always ask is, number one, do the kids want this? And number two, does the guardian want it? Because depending on the answer to those two questions, I'll be focusing you on different aspects of your case. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So let me tell you, the guardian is like a obstacle and roadblock, but it's like right now I have unsupervised visits, not getting any contact.
Well, did you close the case with unsupervised visits?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in California, the argument can be easily made that if you have unmonitored visits, you should have your children.
Right.
Okay, because by definition, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, if you have unmonitored visits, you're not a risk to the children. You know, I'm doing a case right now that Georgette is familiar with, and a couple months ago they were death on this client, CPS, and they wanted to give him monitored visits and keep him out of the family home and blah blah blah. Now he's gotten more into the program. He's still the same guy, right? You can't really point to anything that's changed other than he's been going to counseling, going to parenting, that kind of stuff. And now he's convinced on his own, without me, he convinced the social worker's supervisor to give him unmonitored visits. I was talking to him about it, and I said, well, if you have unmonitored visits, that means you're not a risk to the child. And to keep the child away from you, they have to prove that you're a risk. And that's kind of a federal regulation and guideline, and that's the law in California. I would suspect it's the law in Florida, but I don't know. You should talk to a lawyer. But if you have unmonitored visits, I mean, why don't you have the kids? And if you're not getting visits, if you were in California, what I would tell you is to file your 388 petition to change or modify the guardianship orders to return the children to you. And I'd also file an OSC Ray contempt against your sister because she's not following the court order.
And see, that's what I wanted to know is because I was told by the court appointed attorney that it's not I wouldn't file a motion for contempt. Like, how would you not? But like in reopening the case, it literally is kind of it's not the contempt, but it's you have to document substantial change, and if you want custody back of the child, and that's kind of like where I'm struggling because they said they were never concerned with me. It was my spouse. And then I went through domestic violence situation and I couldn't get him to leave me alone. I mean, for a while I had to call police.
Are you still with his spouse?
He is in jail. No.
Okay. So there you go. There's your change of circumstances right there. If you were in California, Georgette is talking and we can't hear her because she's on mute. But
I swear I wish I can be a witness for her because I actually had the disgusting pleasure of speaking to this guy. He called me out of the blues and he was saying all kinds of crap about her. And I said, who are you? Like, who are you? And he said, well, I know Lisa and she's crazy and blah, 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 blah. I'm a friend of hers. And then I talked to Lisa. I said, who is this nutcase, right? She said, that's my boyfriend. And I'm like,
5 years.
But then in front of Lisa, he was saying the opposite to her. This is perfect example of insanity. He in front of Lisa is like, oh, that's my girl. I love her so much. But he didn't say anything that he said to me. Was completely opposite.
You know what? I've come to the conclusion in cases like that because I see them all the time, literally all the time. Mm-hmm. And it has to do usually with the control issue.
Yep.
He probably wants you back or probably wants control of you. Mm-hmm. And those kinds of things come up. And one of the ways to do that is to manipulate the situation and especially manipulate the legal situation that you're in. Mm-hmm. And obviously
and I'm worried that's gonna be like used against me because I just was trying to keep my family together because I thought at the time that was what I was supposed to do.
Okay,
You know,
but
and I
you know
was
what?
confused. So
You
I
know
felt
what?
like victimized almost by
I'm
the
gonna
system.
I'm gonna tell you something Jerry Spence told me in my class at the Trial Lawyers College. You always have weaknesses in your case.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Always. And many times more than one weakness. But you know what you have to do to that weakness? You have to embrace it, hug it, and love it, and not care if it's exposed to the public.
Without failure, you cannot have success. I believe that.
Right. So, and when I first heard that from Jerry, I was kind of like, what's this guy talking about? Right. Now, when I first heard Jerry, I was like maybe a 20-year attorney, okay, who thought he knew everything. And when he said that, I thought, what is he talking about? Then I thought, the next thought I had was, well, he doesn't lose any cases. He's considered the best trial attorney ever in American jurisprudence. Um, maybe I should listen to what he's saying, right? That that was um my moment of, what do they call it? When I finally realized one of the most important things in my life.
Epiphany.
Epiphany. That's the word I was looking for. My epiphany story. My epiphany story would first go with the fact that I finally learned that if you have a weakness, embrace it, love it, expose it for all to see, because it changes everyone's perception about you. And perception is very important in these court cases, as you probably know, LJ.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. Hey, we're a couple minutes past our ending time tonight. I want to thank all of my co-hosts, Miss Cassandra, Miss G, and our very special guest, Miss LJ, for being on the show tonight. We're going to be on the
I'll be
show
back on
tomorrow.
Tuesday.
We're going to be on the show tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So I want everyone to, do me a favor, tell a friend who has a CPS case or involved in a CPS case somehow, or even, have a relative watch this show, because these shows are free. We're giving out information. I talked to someone today that told me they've watched all 1,400 plus of my videos on YouTube.
Me too.
And they use that knowledge to help their attorney and to help them win their case and get their children back. So tell just one person, and we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Thank you again, guys. Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Chris.